Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. How is everyone? I need to get like one of those sticker things they have on Facebook. I survived. I can also say I survived the heat wave of April 22nd. Hey, I'm sorry. I showed you how tired I am. I survived the heat wave of April 2022. That's what I meant to say. It was 92 here. Boy, it went down fast though. It's 85 now, so I'm happy. It's just 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 85. Welcome everybody. It's Thursday on California Haunts Radio. We got a great guest for you tonight. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. But we're just not here. We're everywhere. Now, we're up and down the state of California. We have members in almost every county of California available to help you with any paranormal needs that you might have. We also are in Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and Hawaii. I want to welcome everybody here. Quick couple of announcements. I will be teaching a psychic development class. It's going to be one of those days when my mouth doesn't work. I'll be teaching a psychic development class on Saturday, April 23rd at 2 p.m. Pacific. And if you're interested in seeing if you might have psychic abilities, or maybe you're just starting out with psychic abilities and you need a little help controlling them, that's what this class is all about. So come on down. You can join it at the meetup, Google Meetup and California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team Meetup, and they'll come right up for you. Otherwise, you can check out our website at californiahauntsradio.com, and we're going to have it up there later on tonight, so you can get into the class at that point. Okay. All right, if you're watching from YouTube, I want to welcome you, just like I want to welcome the folks who are watching on Twitter and of course Facebook. But if you're watching on YouTube, we need subscribers. So if you could subscribe, that would be great. Just there's a little ghost down in the bottom right-hand corner, and he's got a Sherlock Holmes hat on and a magnifying glass. Click on that, and that'll make you a subscriber to this show. If you look around on YouTube, you can see that we have about 230 videos of shows that we've done over the last year and a half. We're real proud of our shows. And it's all kinds of topics. It's not just paranormal. So there's something there for everybody. I have a banner running at the bottom. We'll start getting that out of the way too. California Haunts makes no money from doing its paranormal investigations at all. And we pretty much live off donations. And in order to do the show, of course, there's internet costs, and there's costs for StreamYard and whatnot, and equipment. And if something goes down, I have to pay for it out of my pocket. And I love bringing guests like Sandy Nichols to you, who's going to be our guest tonight, of course, and a guest last night like Barry Taff, right? I love bringing these guests to you. I'm a journalist. That's what I do. But if something goes wrong and something breaks, of course, I have to whip out the cash to fix it. So anything you could help donate to us would be great, to keep this thing going. I would really appreciate it. And you can do that at paypal.me at California Haunts. Or if you're uncomfortable with PayPal, go to Venmo and Venmo.me at California Haunts. I mean, Venmo.me. I'm sorry. Type in, see what I mean? It's going to be that kind of night. Type in Venmo and then type in California Haunts and you'll find us. Now, I apologize for the internet issues last night. I don't know what was going on. I got done here and took a sledgehammer to my Xfinity service. Hopefully tonight we won't have that problem. I'm hoping. So far it looks like it's running pretty stable. I upgraded my the thing is I upgraded last month too, so that we'd have faster internet and all that. It just seems like when something big happens, too many people in this neighborhood have Xfinity and they get online and boom, all hell breaks loose. So hopefully tonight nothing big happens in Sacramento. All right. Anyway, my guest, he's been on the show before. Let me get back into my other window here. There we go. Okay. He's been on the show before. And the last time he was on the show, we had a really, really long show because we got to talking and we just kept going and going and going. And I think it's great. I love when a guest does that. But he's got a lot to say. We've been talking to people this week who have like the gentleman that had shot the documentary on the alien abductees. And Sandy definitely is one of the is an alien abductee. And if you haven't heard his story before, you're in for a treat. But the thing with Sandy too is he also, you know, started experiencing paranormal stuff. And as you know, when we were talking to Dr. Barry Taff last night, he mentioned that people that have experiences with alien abduction sometimes start having paranormal experiences. Tends to go hand in hand. Makes me wonder about me. I've had lost time and all that. So, wow, So it's something that, that we need to like delve more into on the show, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to bring Sandy Nichols on, and we're going to have a grand old time. So let's bring him in. Hello, sir.
Hello, Charlotte, and thank you once again for having me on. And this time, just cut me off when you need to cut me off.
You know
Okay.
what? I don't care, man. We have fun, you and I, so it's all good.
Okay. You just whenever it wants to end, you just let me in. I'm a night owl. I can go
See, here
for
we go
hours.
again. Anything that can go wrong will, because you ever have a week where everything you touch just turns to, you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. I tell you what, it's in my house since because I live in Tennessee, just south of Nashville.
Yeah.
And it has been crazy around here of things just happening from June of last year to about to end of January of this year. And it's just been one thing after another. And one of those things was not our fault. We our two black labs that we had for years, they got old and we had to put them down. So we got two brand new puppy black labs.
Right.
And and they have been a handful. And luckily, I have my yard is 2 acres, so they got lots of room to roam. But black labs, which my wife and I have had for the last over 30 years now, those things like to chew. I mean, they like to chew everything. And there's a matter of fact, they chewed. We got fiber optics coming into the house, so I've
Right.
got high internet speeds and everything, and downloads and uploads.
Right.
And one of the shows I like to watch, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but I mainly do the documentaries.
Right.
But one of them is The Curse of Oak Island, and I've heard about Oak Island for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
And I watch it religiously. And I was watching it one night. I was going to watch it one night, and I took me a little hour power nap before it was coming on. And here in Central Time, which is 2 hours, uh, I guess before you, because it's your show starts at 8:30 my time.
Right.
And so and I got up from my nap at 7:45 because it comes on at 8 o'clock on the History Channel at 8 o'clock for the new episode, and they always run they usually 90% of the time run the previous episode at 7 o'clock, so 7 o'clock to 8 to 9 on Central Time. Well, I get up and my TV comes on, but my cable box won't come on. And I'm
Sounds
going, what
like
the
this
heck is
house.
going on here? So I went over to the main house because I'm in my office. And I went over to the main house. My wife said, yeah, the cable went out about 10 o'clock. I mean, sorry, about 7 o'clock. And I'm going, oh, man. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I want to watch my show. But if I don't watch it, I can watch it the next day. I mean, the next week. I can
Right.
watch it from what I missed this week, that week, and I can watch it on the next week and watch, catch up. Well, I wanted to find out what was wrong with cable because the cable was out, the internet was out, and our phone line was out. We all had it bundled. Well, our two dogs decided to chew on something. So they chewed the electrical cord. Somehow they got it out of the box on the outside wall and chewed on it, and then literally pulled it out of the two cable boxes that have locks on them, and it shut everything down. So shut everything down. So so but they came up, and I called the cable company, and they sent someone out the next afternoon. So we were down a little less than 24 hours. But so that little thing, there's a story I want to tell with that, because something happened weird the following week, and I wanted to start out this tonight, if you don't mind, with something. Is this:
Okay, go for it.
in November last year, I did about 8 different live streams and radio shows um, within a week, 1 week period. And then this was the week before Thanksgiving week.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the Monday of Thanksgiving week, my wife and I took a break, and we went down and met part of my family down at Walt Disney World and spent Thanksgiving down there. Well, I most of these shows were on my abductions, because in the abduction panel
Sure.
with this lady by the name of Connie Willis. And Connie Willis
Oh,
interviewed me for the first time on Coast to Coast AM. And I'm going, oh, whoa, that's cool. Well, I did that. And then I get back. I have no more radio shows to do,
mm-hmm.
except I've got yours scheduled for, I think, the 28th or the 29th of December.
Right.
And that was my last one for 2021. And then I had some others scheduled um, um, after that. Well, in my abduction life and my paranormal life, these things kind of come and go. I mean, it's like for about 2 or 3 months, nothing happens really. I see a few things, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for about a week or two, it just piles on, and then it stops for about another 2 or 3 months, and then does again. It's been a pattern here for about the last 3 years. Well, that changed, and it changed the day after I did your show in December.
Figures.
and everything, and it went on steroids. Everything, it has not stopped.
I guess I should be honored.
Oh, I tell you what, I love this stuff. I love this stuff, and the more things that happen, I get to talk about it more. you know, I figure God gave me one gift, and that was a big mouth, and He said to use it. But it has been constant, 1 to 2 times a week, with different things happening, and for the since the day after your show up until last night.
Wow.
And I mean, that was the first time this week, and this stuff has not been. I've been having the usual stuff, like I hear you had Brett Odom on your show last year,
Right.
and he's a very good friend of mine. He used to live up here in Nashville, so he was up here for about 8 years, and he came to my house all the time. I had my gatherings, and we got to talking about things that happened in my office, and maybe on some ghost investigations too. And so what happens in my office? My office is my pool house, my office, and my man cave. And but I will hear voices in here. I will hear music playing, and we got to thinking. We're thinking, I got ghost voices in here, and blah blah blah, and got to thinking that maybe they aren't ghost voices as per se. What if? And I'm leaning this way too on this stuff, because there's other things that happen. Is that what if a parallel Earth very similar to ours, but with differences, is bleeding in. And
That,
I'm
well,
now
yeah.
I'll give you an example. I'm come over here to my office. I was in the main house. I come over here and I'm on the computer, and then I said, hey, I'll just watch a little TV, a little documentary or something. And all of a sudden, I started hearing a guitar playing, and I'm going, huh? And then played the guitar, and I'm sitting here listening to it for about 30 seconds, and it seems like it's coming from the attic above my pool house.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, nobody's up there, you know. And I'm thinking, where's this coming from? And I turned off my system. I even unplugged it, so I had no power to my computer or any things. And so, so, and then the guitar quit. The person playing guitar was a guy, and he was singing. Now the thing is, I could not understand the words, but
Hmm.
I knew he was singing. It was like and stuff like that. And I can hear them. I can distinguish between male and female voices,
Hmm.
but they're light, but I can still hear them. And but I can't. They aren't loud enough for me to hear, even with my hearing aids in. I mean, for me to understand what they're saying. But
Hmm.
this guy got through playing the guitar, and there was 3 or 4 females around him. They said, and it was like they were. I could hear the clapping and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, well, this is the first time I've heard guitar playing. And so then I and then it stopped. And then he starts playing another song, and I could hear female voices talking to him as he's playing the guitar and singing this song. And this goes on for like 30 minutes. Now normally I'd just let it go and just hear it and kind of tune it out if I had to concentrate on something.
Hmm.
But I had to get up at 6 o'clock that morning and go do something. And so I had to have him stop. And I told him, I says, I just yelled up to him. I literally yelled up, and I said, hey, listen, I've got to get up at 6 o'clock. You can play for about 30 more minutes, and then you've got to quit. And so I can get some sleep. And all of a sudden it stopped. Never did hear it the rest of the night. But another thing I hear in here, or not hear, I smell. Now I've got a microwave in here.
Hmm.
Cook, heat up a pizza or something or whatever, hot pocket or whatever. And but I smell cooking in here. There's people that smell flowers and stuff like that.
Right.
But I literally smell somebody cooking dinner or lunch or something. And I'm sitting here going, that smells pretty good. And but all of this came after about 2 years ago. I had a series of experiences, and it happened at night because I would come back over here and take a little power nap for 30 minutes to an hour.
Hmm.
And I was venturing over to a parallel Earth that was very similar to ours. And I thought I was going nuts on these dreams. I thought they were BS and stuff like that, and just, regular dreams. But then my wife came home from church one day on Sunday, laid down on the couch to take a nap after church, and she was awakened suddenly by noises, and she looked up, and our den area is 2 stories. It's 2 stories. And so, and it's got and you can be on the second floor looking down into the first floor. And it's got it's the hallway up there with a railing and stuff like that. And you can see out the big back windows to the backyard and stuff.
Hmm.
And got 2 bedrooms upstairs on that second floor. And she was thinking that our granddaughter, was having a sleepover, and she was in her crib, and it awakened in the crib.
Hmm.
And so she looked up, and the thing that was different was that the 2 bedrooms, we had this house built.
Right.
So One house we call the antique room because she's got some antique furniture in there. And when you're laying on the couch, you cannot, and you're looking up, you cannot see that door going into that bedroom unless you're on the far left side of the den.
Mm-hmm.
But laying there, she could see into the other bedroom right down the hall, the door, and that one we just called the brown room.
Right.
Um, and but the thing is that the antique room, which has the crib and the antique furniture, was switched. She could see the antique furniture, she could see the crib and everything in the bedroom that she could see, which is actually the brown bedroom, and then the brown bedroom uh, was where the antique bedroom was. So the bedrooms were switched,
Mm-hmm.
and she couldn't understand that at first. And this is my wife is very logical. Okay, she's a registered nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She owned her own business investigating medical fraud. She was a captain in the Air Force and the Tennessee Air Guard for 8 years. Um, so she's I use her a lot because she's got all these little initials behind her names, which I'm married to
It's
a
impressive, yeah.
I'm not married. She's married to a crazy person, but I'm not married to a crazy person. And and she was a very good businesswoman and stuff like that. And but I was having dreams. I would come over and lay down on my couch, and normally I sleep on my right side,
Mm-hmm.
and with because I got to have the back of the couch against my back, and because I want to see what's I don't because it's close to the windows, and there's only a back of the couch to these French glass doors, these double French doors,
Mm-hmm.
that it's only about maybe 2 feet, and I'm going, well, I can hear someone breaking out the window and everything, and it's like a safety thing for me with abductions. I have a night. I leave the bathroom light on in the bathroom and shut the door because some
Mm-hmm.
abductees have to sleep in complete darkness. I have to have a little night
Mm-hmm.
light, and the reason is if something's coming after me, I want to be able to see who it is. I don't want to be, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be in complete darkness and all of a sudden feel hands touching me or float off the couch or whatever. I want to see these suckers because when I see them,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fight them if I can. Because
Sure.
don't take me. So anyway, now, so here is one of the things that's happened. I missed the Oak Island episode, which is the new episode each Wednesday at 8 o'clock our time. So I come up and everything gets fixed. And the next Wednesday, I tell my wife, I says, okay, I'm gonna be in there from 8 I'm gonna be in there from 7 to 9 this time.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody calls, you're going to answer the phone because I'm going to watch my movies, my these 2 episodes when I missed from last week. So I start watching it, and as I'm watching it, I'm going, wait a minute, I've seen this before. I've seen this before, and all of the Wednesday episodes that are 8 o'clock, they are original episodes, have not been aired before.
Okay.
So I was watching the repeat on this particular Wednesday, which was the original episode from the previous Wednesday that I missed, and I was going to watch it, and so I was going to watch it for the first time at the 7 o'clock repeat on the following week, which was this particular week. And I'm watching it, and I'm going, wait a minute, that looks familiar. I said, why do I know this? I can't figure out why I have already seen, this goes on for about 10 minutes. I'm going, I've seen this episode, but this episode, they don't on Oak Island, they don't repeat the program until later on that night.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I had no internet. I had everything bundled, and I had no power. I had no cable, internet, or phone line. So for almost 24 hours. So there was no way, and they don't repeat it during the week. From Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or whatever up, and then they just repeat it the second time, usually at 7 o'clock. But I'm watching this, and I'm going, wait a minute. I've seen this episode that I missed last week at 8 o'clock, but why? How come I've seen it and know about it now? And I'm thinking, what the hell? And I'm thinking, and I'm looking at it going, okay. And I came up with two kind of possible answers. That I am really friggin' psychic, and I watched an hour program psychically, or I watched this program in a time slip that I went back in time and watched this program and didn't even know that I had watched it. Now I'd had these experiences before then, 2 years ago, where I'd go over into the parallel Earth, similar but with differences. And you can go, and that parallel Earth runs the same time frame as what our Earth does.
Right.
But if it's 9:02 here, then it'd be 9:02 over there. Problem is getting from 9:02 here to 9:02 across this divide, which is like it reminds me of a river flowing in one directions, but rivers have eddies and backwaters with them. So the problem is getting across this divide to the same 9:02. Now you're going to lose like a second or two as you cross, but you can go from here, from our time frame to there, and this is what happened. And it'd be nighttime here. I lay down at 8 o'clock usually, and it would be daylight over there.
Yes.
And it's not even the same day.
Yes.
And the thing is when I crossed over, and I've heard of things of people saying walk-ins. Well, I've had OB type of experience where I'm floating over something and seeing things. I've had astral journey experiences, but this was the first time I've ever had this where I'm going into somebody else in this parallel Earth. I don't know who I'm going into, but if there's a Charlotte over there,
right,
but the Charlotte may be a different name and may look a bit different, but it's Charlotte.
Right.
And everything. But the thing is that when you cross this river, and it's like a boat trying to cross a river, and you're going from point A to point B, and this water's moving, so the time stream is moving. So you could be forward, you could be in the future, or you can actually be in the back too. If you have a motorboat, then you can go backwards in time. And because it's the only thing that's logical, explaining it, that I can think of.
I have experienced that.
You have? Cool.
I have. I used to work long hours at the newspaper, and my friend and I would always try to hit the midnight movies out in this town, Elk Grove, and there was still a little daylight left. We get on the freeway, we're going out there. This is leaving from Woodland, so I'm going. It's about maybe 25, 30 miles, and I'm driving. And when I was a little girl, on this particular Highway 99, all the overpasses were covered in vines. And of course, they're not like that now. But they're older, the older overpasses. Because my dad used to have hatchbacks, and I'd lay back there as a kid, and I'd look up and I'd see these things. So as we're driving, I noticed suddenly it's like something out of a movie. Suddenly everything gets blurry. It's like a smear. And then it starts to clear up, and I start to see these overpasses with vines on them. And I start to look out the windows of the car, and it's a very populated area to get to Elk Grove. Okay, I look out the window of the car, and there's no city lights or anything. Next thing I know, it's an hour later. My friend and I are in this town, Galt, which is in the middle of nowhere. We lost a whole hour with it, but I have experienced that.
Oh, I tell you what, my wife and I were experiencing something similar to that, and I've heard of other experiences. Is that for about 12 years straight, we drove over from Nashville to Kiowa Island, South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
for Thanksgiving week, and play golf over there with part of my family. And Kiowa Island is about 30 minutes south of Charleston. And so we'd already gone over there like 6 or 7 times, and taking the same route, Interstate 24 to Chattanooga, Chattanooga to Atlanta, catch the loop, big loop going around, and catch Interstate 20 over, take it all the way over to Columbia, South Carolina, and then catch 26, and that will run all the way down into Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we attended a wedding of a good friend of mine who got married early afternoon, so we didn't leave until about 3 or 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't going to drive. It's like a 9.5 hour drive over there, and so we didn't want to drive the whole way, and because we couldn't check into our villa until the next day anyway. And my brother has a house over there. We could have gone to his house, but I didn't want to stay in. I get someplace. I want to unpack my bag and I want to get something to eat,
Sure.
everything and stuff. So anyway, we come out of we everything's fine. We get on 20, and we see a sign, an interstate sign on the side that says Augusta. We're going to stop in Augusta, Georgia, where they play the Masters,
Mm-hmm.
and it has 3 exits within 5 miles of each other. And I saw a sign that says Augusta, 126 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's cool. So we keep on. So we go down the road. You get out of Atlanta. You get out of Atlanta rush hour traffic, and once you do that, you have very little traffic at that time of night, heading east on uh, Interstate 20 towards Columbia. And from Columbia to the island where we stay is only about 4 more hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going down, and I don't eat while I'm driving. If I'm on a trip, I will not. I'll eat a little something that morning, and I won't eat until I get to my destination, because I have an IBS problem,
Right.
which a lot of abductees have,
Yes.
and so I won't eat till I get there, and I have a couple of sandwiches and something else in a cooler for me when we get to the hotel. Well, we're driving down, and I told my wife, I says, listen, I gotta stop. I gotta take a whiz. So I'm gonna pull off at the next exit. So the next exit had a single gas station, and it had some pumps back in the back for some trucks, tractor trailer trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But there was only one truck back there. So I went in. I went into the bathroom. I got me another Pepsi, which I didn't need, but I got one. And I asked the cashier, I says, how much further to Augusta? And she says, I don't know. I just moved here a month ago, so I don't know that route. But the truck driver back there, and she pointed, said he drives that route 5 days a week, Augusta to Atlanta. So I came up and I asked him, I says, I went back there. I says, how many more miles to the first exit in Augusta? He goes, 119 miles. Now, that would not be unusual in itself,
Mm-hmm.
except for an hour and 20 minutes and we always check our mileage by the odometer. I always keep up with that because I've had some few weird experiences with mileage going missing and stuff. Well, this time the mileage really did go missing. We had driven 121 we had driven, it was 126 miles, so I had driven 7 miles and an hour and 20 minutes on the interstate with
Whoa.
cruise control on for every bit of that time, except for one time when I had to slow down to wait for a car to pass. So for an hour and 20 minutes, so let's say for an hour and 17 minutes, I had my cruise control on for 70 for an hour and 17 minutes, and my speed set at 78 miles an hour.
Hmm.
And we only drove 7 miles
Wow.
in an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm going, and my wife had checked it too, and she's not into this, but she knows weird things happens to me, and apparently she's had a few weird things happen to her, and she goes, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm going, you're right, it doesn't. And I've heard stories like yours where these four women were up north somewhere in one of the cities up there, and they got on their outer loop and they were going to a MUFON meeting, and they were going to be they would have been like 20 minutes early for it,
Mm-hmm.
which they were every time, and they just kept passing the same damn exit, which was not their exit, and they just kept on driving, and they passed an exit, and then two exits down would be their exit, and which would be another 10 miles down the road or so, and they couldn't ever find their exit after they passed this exit that they knew of, since they all lived up there and they knew the name of it, and they didn't realize that they were driving by the same exit for over an hour and got to the MUFON meeting an hour late.
Wow.
Yeah, matter of fact, Brad Odom, who you've had on, did he tell you the story about him missing some time?
I don't think so.
Okay, there's a town outside of east of Nashville called Middle Tennessee State University. It's a big college town, and they were having a conference up there that he and his ex-wife Gina were going to attend, and they lived in Mount Juliet, so it'd take them 45 minutes or so to get over there to the conference hotel, one day conference thing. And they come off of the outer loop, which is 840 onto 24, and then you're on I-24 going east for about 5 minutes till you get to the exit.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got like 3 or 4 exits to this Murfreesboro to get there. Well, they're going down. They looked at the clock on their car. And everything was fine. And then the next thing they know, they have driven by all the exits and didn't know it, except for the last one. And all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, where's Murfreesboro? Where's our exit? And they had driven by all the exits, and they had just kind of popped in, or something had happened right before they got to the very last exit. And I know that exit because it's got a gun shop up there at that exit that I go to sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is several miles past the main exits, and it's coming in from the far east side of Murfreesboro. And they're saying, oh, they're going to be pushing it anyway to get there on time. They thought they were going to be 10-15 minutes late.
Mm-hmm.
They get up there at that exit and they get off. So they get off, and so they speed up to go back, and they go back, and they get there 10 minutes before the damn thing was supposed to start.
Wow.
And they were already late when they got to that exit.
Right.
And then they're sitting there, and one of the guys that was talking, one of the ghost guys, I think he's out of Kentucky, and they had never met him before, and he came over and said, man, it's been a long time since I've seen you and talked to you. And they're going, when do we talk to this guy? They had not met this guy. They had seen him in talks and stuff at different places. He's pretty well known.
Mm-hmm.
And and everything. But I've had 3 of these time slips. That one with that, so either psychic or a time slip.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one, or the last one, was I was this is a good one. I went down to Walmart to do some shopping and to Home Depot,
Mm-hmm.
and and this was just a couple of Thursdays ago. I go down there and and I'm just taking my time. I'm not rushing back. And then I come back home, and I said, you know what? There was something I wanted to see on TV at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, and I says, and so when I pulled into our garage and I was getting all this stuff out, I looked at the clock in the kitchen, and it said 8:30. So I said, oh great, man, I got time. So I've been gone an hour and a half by this clock and everything, and I got everything out. I rushed it over to my office. I told my wife I was home. She was back brushing her teeth. She brushes them about an hour or so,
Mm-hmm.
and comes up and says, I says, I'm going over to watch my show. It starts at 9. And she says, well, it's not 9. I'm going, yeah, it is. It was 8:30 when I brought all the stuff in, and it's only been 10 minutes since then. And she says, no, it's about a quarter of 10.
Wow.
And I'm going, how do you know it's quarter of 10? It says, because I looked at the clock when I came back here to brush my teeth, and I'm and I'm going, oh no, you're wrong. It's 9. 9 o'clock on this clock, 9 o'clock on the clock over at my office. I mean, at 8. It's like 8:35 and then 8:40, and then so I'm talking to her, and going, this doesn't make sense. And I said, let me go look at the clock
Mm-hmm.
in the kitchen. I go back, perfect time, and it matched up with every other clock in our house, in the main house. And then I go over to my office and going, by this time it's 10 till 10. And I'm going, how come I saw the wrong time?
Mm-hmm.
Now I've gone over there. It's a little small town I go to called Spring Hill. And I went over there to go to the public grocery store and to Taco Bell to get me a little bite one night. And I was gone less than an hour, and she said I'd been gone 2 hours.
Wow.
And I'm going, no, yeah, you have. And but this was in the house where this clock was saying 8:50. Where I'm at
Mm-hmm.
one end of the house, it's 8:30. Where my wife is, it's 9:30 or
Whoa.
9:45. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is just it messes, just like you. It's like your experience. It's like, you know, I know what time it was. I know
Right.
what places looked like and everything. And it's like, okay, am I back in time or am I in a parallel Earth
Mm-hmm.
and everything? And see, because now I'll tell you something about abductees, and you may have had this same experience or similar experience, that you go to sleep, and mine always happens within 15 to 40 minutes after I lay down to go to sleep. And then you wake up and you think you've had a dream. Well, when you're an abductee, you got to kind of try to determine, well, was I just abducted, or did I have a dream of something in the past,
Right.
experience in the past? Well, I would go to sleep, and 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 I'd wake up 20 minutes later, and I'd have these friggin' scratches on my legs, on my back, wherever. And I bite the heck out of my fingernails, so I can't scratch myself.
Right.
I'm not sleepwalking or anything like that. And these are scratches, and they're a lot of times they're in the same pattern. It's like a 2-1 pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, but the dream, I think I had a dream, but this dream is kind of like, most of the times you can't tell how long dreams are, how
Right.
long you've been dreaming. But but I start, but these dreams would seem like they're going on for hours, not just a couple, not just no time reference, but man, that dream, you wake up, man, that dream seemed like it lasted forever and everything. And I'm thinking, well, how can I go to bed? I check my body every night before I go to bed for scratches and any types of marks. And I've awakened with marks on me too. I woke up with the symbol pi
Wow.
on my arm and before. But I'm sitting there and and I couldn't figure out why, how
Hmm.
I could get marks on my body as extensive as they are, have the dream that seems like it's going on for hours,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking, well, I'm just writing off the dream to just a regular dream,
Hmm.
and then but it still didn't account for the scratches and the marks on my body that I had that I didn't have when I laid down 20 minutes before,
Right.
and so um, I just couldn't put the two together. And then I came up with this theory that, okay, they're coming, instead of them taking me somewhere,
Hmm.
doing all this stuff in my office to me or in the bedroom or whatever, wherever I'm falling asleep, they're doing it in there. But it still didn't account for the length of what I felt the dream, how long the dream was.
Right.
And then it hit me. I woke up one morning from a dream of being with reptilians in this underground labyrinth of places.
Hmm.
Totally different thing. And 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 the Greys have done this to me too. Is that they got something that's about 2 feet long, and it's like a cattle prod, and
Yikes.
it's a silvery color, and they pop you right here in the middle of your back, but about an inch off the spine, and it will put you down on the floor in a heartbeat, and it hurts like hell. It's like, okay, you get up on this table and let us do this instead of fighting us, we're going to pop you with this, and it hurts like heck. So I had this dream, and but this time it's the reptilians, and I fight them. I fight them. I wish I could be one of these people that says, "Oh man, they had never hurt me, and they've done this, and they've shown me all this stuff." Well, it's like, okay, we're going to show you this, and then you're going to obey us. And I'm going, you're coming against my will, and
Hmm.
and and it just goes against my free will philosophy of free will that I have. Like it's a free will of mine to accept your invitation to be on your show again.
Right.
And if you want my help, if you need something from me, ask me, just don't take it. I wouldn't let humans do to me what these suckers are doing to me. So anyway, I wake up and I've been popped with that cattle prod, and you feel it for like 2 days afterwards. You feel where they pop you because it is sore where they pop you, and all they do is just barely touch you, and it's like an electrical shock that just your whole body. You can't resist it, and then it goes. The once they pull it off, it stops, and you can stand up, but you're still feeling it on your body where they do it, and that's right where the sciatica nerve starts, basically, just right above it, and that's the biggest nerve you have in your body, so they know what they're doing, and and so I wake up and I'm going, man, and I was ticked. I mean, I was ticked off because they shot me again, and they can shock me all the time, but I'm still not going to do things and call me stubborn, but and everything. But anyway, and I'm on the right side. Laying on my right side, and I'm going, and I had a long dream, and then I'm feeling the pain. So I'm feeling it this time, and
Mm-hmm.
and the marks usually I don't feel until I get in the shower or I look at in the mirror. But I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I'm wide awake. I've been laying there for like 3 minutes, not wanting to get up because I'm tired too. And all of a sudden, I get popped again in my office while I'm awake. And the only way they could do that is come through the back of the couch.
Right.
I have to be standing behind the couch and somehow dematerializing that thing and materializing it once it gets through the back cushion and hit me again. Well, that did that, and I'm going, oh man, that wasn't a dream. That was real time there. And so about 2 days later, I'm thinking about this, and I'm going, and it's the only thing that makes sense to me, and is that for these short hauls, like I get the scratches, and what happens in 20 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think what they're doing to us, at least some of us, at least me, is that they're coming to get me, and they may have me for 2 hours, or they could have me for 2 friggin' weeks. But then, and they can manipulate that time,
Mm-hmm.
bring me back into time to 30 to anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes after um, I fell asleep the first time. So
Right.
if they get me on March 1st, they can bring me back on March 15th back to 30 minutes, and I wouldn't know it. The manipulating time, and anytime the astronauts go up in space, they age slower
Mm-hmm.
than what they do on Earth. That's just what happens. And so if you're being taken up in space wherever they take you, they could do the same thing, because what it is, it's a matter of speed. It's the speed they're going, because they're traveling at 17,000 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
in the space shuttle, and basically on the things going to the moon anytime they went up, and you're going faster. So it may not be, you may only age like maybe 5 minutes, but and it's hard to measure that, but they know that happens.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking me for 2 weeks, and they're zipping me around space, or anybody else for that matter. Then they can have me for as long as they want, and then bring me back.
Right.
And I can cross over, but I don't know how to control crossing over
Mm-hmm.
into parallel Earth, and it's a river of time. And if you look at it, time is the same thing as space. If you got wormholes and you bring 2 points together, you're not just shortening the time, you're shortening the space
Right.
as well. So it, this is like a novel. Being abducted is like a novel, and I want to skip to the ending to see if I survive, but I
Right.
can't do that. At least I can't do that right now. But and it's like, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm tired of waiting for it to get to the ending. I still got 500 pages to go on this 1,000-page novel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I can't stop. I can't stop. I got to keep on. I got to find the answers. And then once you find one answer, or you think you found an answer, it's like, here comes about 100 more questions right behind it.
Why do you think you've been chosen for these tests?
Well, I think one of it is my energy. I think, you were talking in the introduction about and about what Bobby said, the person you had on last night.
Yeah. With Dr. Taft.
Yeah, and is is I've been an abductee since at least the age of 5. There's been other people who've had a single abduction experience and they get caught in it, but he was hitting on something that I've been saying for years,
Mm-hmm.
that I do ghost investigations. I was doing ghost investigations, and then it's like, are you having anything else besides ghost investigations? Because when you're doing investigations, you look at a lot of things, not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
We are, when we do an investigation, a ghost investigation, we get as little information as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and then come up and then try to use our own psychic abilities, if that's what you want to call it, to say, to go places and say, well, someone saw a ghost in the den. Where in the den? Don't tell us. Don't tell us the names. Let us try to get it, because if we can get information that the homeowner knows or the business owner knows, and we get information, and it goes along with what they've seen,
Mm-hmm.
we're using our gifts. And if you don't use them, then they're going to go stale.
Right.
So we try to get this, and so I would ask them, and I started asking them when I was doing some of these things by myself. I try to do it with friends, but sometimes it has to be real quick, and I have to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically know how to protect myself on these things. And I told an Indian a shaman one time in this neighborhood in Nashville, where a neighborhood was located, and it used to be Indian sacred ground,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't like me in there, and he was scaring the heck out of the family, and he pushed me, and I said, "Don't push me, don't push me. I'm not disrespecting you." And then he pushed me again. This time hard enough into a wall where I mean, I punched my shoulder, put a hole in drywall. He pushed me that hard.
Wow.
I turned around and got really mad at him, and I said, "Listen here, you so and so. You hit me again. I tell you what I'm going to do. One day I'm going to be over on the same side that you're on, and I'm coming to look for you for payback." Yeah, I mean, they're over on the other side. I'm coming to find you. And what you're doing to me now, because I can't see you, then I'm gonna be able to see you. So it's like a bully
Right.
and everything. That's and I've only gotten sick on one investigation. Had to walk out for about 20 minutes, and then pushed one time in
Mm-hmm.
anger. And I could feel him. I could feel this Indian shaman. He wanted them to move the whole neighborhood, which was about 200 homes. That's not going to happen.
Right.
And so I just came up, and I could feel his energy. I mean, it was very palpable. I mean, it just building up, building up, building up. And I says, "Do it again. I told you what I'm going to do." And I just stood my ground
Mm-hmm.
and everything. I may have gotten popped again, but if I did, hey, that's part of the job. You know, you go fight a bully, then you may get hit, but the bully's going to get hit too.
Here's a question. Like with EVPs, and I've always wondered this too. Do you think that some of the EVPs we're getting could be from from a parallel dimension? Because I mean, when you look at them and they seem like with the frequencies, they're so low. Within the frequency, and they seem so distant that
Well, two things on that. Two things. I'll do the short one first.
okay,
You've had Brent Rains on your show too,
yes,
and he's a good friend of mine as well. So it was Brent and myself and Brad Odom and some other people where we did these investigations. I've known Brent for since the late '90s
mm-hmm,
and everything, and known Brett since 2009 and stuff. So we all got together, and it was actually Brett Odom and his wife Gina that taught us how a new way to do the spirit box,
cool,
where we get anywhere from 20 to 40 EVPs at a setting.
wow,
Yeah, we don't do them where we talking to them on the box,
mm-hmm,
the spirit box, as we're doing the investigation. we don't walk around holding that thing. We got a whole new. We just set it up when you use spirit guides. But the two things, Brett, not Brett, but Brent is a big John Keel fan, and he's wrote a book about Keel, and he's always talking about Keel, and we've actually had Keel come in to our spirit box session where Brent asked him and says, John, will you talk to us? Because Brent knew John Keel real well.
Mm-hmm.
Says, Brent, will you uh, Brent said, John, will you talk to us? And we had and everybody brought over a pizza, and we were eating pizza, and his reply was, for a slice of pizza. Yeah, so he knew we'd eaten pizza, but Brent Brent is not skeptical, and he's not a debunker. He just wants a bit more proof.
Mm-hmm.
And being a big John Keel fan and knowing John Keel, that Keel came up with what he called the gens,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually, if I'm not mistaken, coming out of the Islamic Arabic world
Sure.
and
Yeah.
stuff. And he thinks that some of the voices, he knows we're getting voices, and he can recognize some voices and stuff. But he thinks some of the answers we're getting are coming from the gens.
Really?
Yeah, from the gens, the tricksters. He calls them tricksters and stuff. Now, if it, as far as a dimension, if they're dead, they're already in another dimension.
Right.
Okay. And but my son, my son's my son's brilliant. My oldest son, all my children are much smarter than me. I mean, that's not a joke. They're much smarter than me. And my oldest son has an IQ of about 185, 190, which is what they estimated Einstein to be.
Right.
And he was putting his toys together at 3, and I'm reading the instructions, going, I can't follow this, type of stuff. But he was taking sophomore college classes. He built as part of his he's biomedical engineer
Mm-hmm.
and electrical engineer, and he runs a software division for a huge company that was brought in to help with the virus stuff in California.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives in Colorado, and he has to travel to California to your state, Silicon Valley. You may have heard of the company, Kaiser Permate.
Oh yeah.
Kaiser Permate. He works for Kaiser Permate, and he heads up a software division for them. And he graduated from Vanderbilt University with this double major in at 3.85 and everything. But he told me how these voices come in. He says this is the only way they can talk to you over the radio. Now, you got radio stations, or a lot of radio stations are broadcasting over the internet now. So there's no trouble with radio waves.
Right. Contamination.
Now radio waves work by bouncing signals off of towers and a daisy chain type of thing. When there was the big fire out in California and it was getting close to LA, they were worried about all those towers, radio and TV towers, up near Mount that observatory area on that mountain.
Right.
Catching fire because they'd lose a lot of things. You can bounce ham radios off the clouds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But radio waves, they got to go from tower to tower, and it depends on the amount of wattage that that is being put out. So like the big radio station in Nashville is WSM, which is the Grand Ole Opry.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 50,000 watt clear channel.
Wow.
Radio station, so they can broadcast everywhere. But you got radio waves, and these radio waves are on frequencies. They've assigned frequencies to them. Now you can have a radio station um, that's got 10,000 watt outage,
Mhm.
and depending on where they're located, that signal is only going to go so as far as people picking it up. The static, what we call static on the radio, when you get static, that's
Mhm.
a radio signal coming in. But and there's a radio. There could be a radio frequency, a broadcaster on that frequency
Mhm.
that we're hearing in static. But like if you got a 10,000 foot, if say someone's on frequency, say 758.5, then what happens, and they're broadcasting 10,000 watts, and they are not in a really good location. They, say they're in a bit of a valley or a flat, and then the signal is still coming out on that 785.5,
Mhm.
but people can only pick it up with their radios so far away from that station. But the signal is still traveling through the airwaves. It's still
Okay.
traveling through the airs, and then our radios are tuned to. We can tune. If you got a digital one, you can tune it to 785.5, but all
Mhm.
you're going to hear is static.
Right.
And my son said that the static can be real strong or real weak, depending on how far the signal is traveling.
Mhm.
If your radio, if I shoot a signal on a radio wave to you, then to your radio receiver,
Right.
then it may be real low. My son said the
Mhm.
only way that we can hear them on the radio, which is, you look at the Radio Shack Hack Spirit Box,
Oh, I
and
love those. Yeah.
yeah, and I've got one. I hope it never breaks. And but you got the SB box and other things, but there you're doing the radio frequencies on a loop, continuous loop, and you're picking up heavy static and you're picking up light static, weak static, and all of them are radio signals coming in that your radio is picking up. And I think what happens is that um, they ride. And my son says this is the only way they could do it if they're coming off the radio. These
Mhm.
boys, they got to have some way. The ghost or whoever got to have some way to ride and to catch a ride on the radio frequency coming into your box, into your radio. That's the only way, he says, because that's what the radio is designed for. It's picking up radio waves, so they're riding the radio waves, and where they're and they don't and they sometimes they don't want to ride on the radio waves that are real strong because they'll be drowned out by the music or the talk
Right.
radio or whatever. So
Right.
they're riding the waves that has the static on there where no voices is coming on. There's voices on there, but they're so low you can't hear them because they're so weak. And,
Mhm.
it's the difference between a real low whisper and a unbelievable scream.
Okay.
And so so that's how we hear them, because
Mhm.
that's the only way it can hear them. But I got to tell you something. You hit on something, and I've got to find this. Matter of fact, I was thinking about this last night, and I've got to go. I've got about 3,000 EVPs I still got to go through for about 7 years worth of spirit box we've done.
Mhm.
And I did a spirit box session over here in my office by myself one time,
Mhm.
and I'm using WavePad. Uh, and some people use Audacity. I use WavePad. Some other use other programs, but I like WavePad because it's the simplest for me to figure out, since I'm dumb on tech stuff and I don't know jack about music really. And but it allows me to, WavePad will allow me to download from the recorder into into my system, and then I bring it from the system into WavePad, and then I can do different things in WavePad. I can cut down on the static. I can cut down on this. Well, I'm
Mhm.
doing that one night on one I had done a spirit box session I did in my office by myself. And we do these things no longer than an hour to an hour and a half max. Because it seems like when you get to an hour and a half, it gets weaker. It's like
Okay.
the energy levels are dropping. But I'm listening to it, and I want to find this, and I want to broadcast this to the world. And once I can find it, I'm going to make it public.
Mhm.
But I'm listening to it, and I've got a friend of mine. His name is Mike Rojas. His wife, I met him through his wife, and his wife Val and I used to do ghost investigations.
Mhm.
And Mike Rojas knows music. He's won about 5 times Piano Player of the Year award for the Academy of Country Music in
Oh.
in Nashville, and he plays with the biggest stars, country music stars and other, and he plays with rock bands and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and he's that good on the piano, and and he knows music. Trust me. You don't win these things. The best musicians that you have are the ones who are what are called studio players or session players.
Mhm.
They're the ones you hear on the albums, and usually not the touring band, because these are the ones who have been practicing. Plus, he just got inducted last year or 2 years ago into the Jazz Hall of Fame,
Cool.
so he knows what he's talking about. Well, I had a gathering about 2 weeks after this, after I caught this, and I let him hear it.
Mhm.
And he told me what was happening because I'm getting, I got this music. No music is playing except those little short half second bursts that you hear when you're
Mhm.
scanning the frequencies.
Mhm.
These are long. It was the only way I can describe it is ethereal music, and and it wasn't in short bursts. It was like something like you would imagine heaven, if heaven's real, to be, or the sounds of space, or the sounds of the Akashic records, or something like that. It was just mesmerizing. But here's the thing: on WavePad, you can stretch out. They talk, and then you hear something, and you stretch the things out from, you can stretch it out and down to like tenths of a second on WavePad, and then you can clean it up and everything. So I cleaned it up, and here between seconds, what we seconds between this second and this second was the music between, like 32 minutes and 26 seconds and 32 minutes and 27 seconds. So, or it's in between the seconds. So the music is embedded within the actual, what you don't normally hear.
Right.
And the only reason I heard it was because I had that thing stretched out, had the
Mhm.
music stretched out, like on my whole screen. I had like 3 seconds stretched out because I was trying to clean it up in that way, and I got lucky. And here's this music. It is the most mesmer. I've never heard music like that. And it's what you think or what you feel this ethereal music is. So it's coming in from another dimension. So
Mhm.
if this ethereal music is coming in from another dimension, then to me that means that somebody or something that lives in the ethereal world,
Mm-hmm.
like the ultimate other dimension, can be talking to us as well.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And we asked what's the best frequency to talk them on. We were Brett and Gina and I were sitting over here one day doing a session, and we were asking them about abductions and stuff, and we asked them what is the best frequency to talk to them on, and they gave us a friggin' number. And I'm saying, okay, we'll just turn our little thing to this frequency number, and we'll talk to them on this frequency, since they said that was the best. That frequency number is not on your radio, your standard radio.
Makes sense.
It's on a marine band radio frequency. It's a marine band radio frequency. And I can understand why, because it's a lot less chatter than the regular radio frequency. But you got to have a special radio to even get down to that frequency, and you got to get it down. Say it's 578.5. 578 is not going to get it. You got to get to that 0.5, because you have a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 4, 5, 10, and then it flip to another, to the next one,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. It's like I've got a video. I've got a video that something told me at my previous house, to put my video camera up on the tripod,
Mm-hmm.
and it's completely dark. There's woods around my house. There's no Eve lights, no security lights on. It's just solid dark. And I get an orange ball, what people call orbs, fly right through there. And there's no lights. And the bugs are not even showing up because it's that dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then something told me a couple of days later, put a camera out there and do some flashes. Just take some pictures of yourself. Just stand on the rail, and the deck was raised up a bit off the ground, and it had an open backyard going, with woods in the back, and one tree over here,
Mm-hmm.
and in the middle of the yard. It made great for playground for my kids to play in and stuff, and open space. And so I put this was 35 millimeter camera,
Mm-hmm.
and I came up and took pictures. I hit the delay button. I went up there, and I'm standing up there like this against the deck railing with the backyard in the background taking pictures. Well, I look at one picture, and there's a white image behind me, and I'm going, what is that white image? Well, I had my video camera going too at the same time, and it was on VHS tape. And the old VHS tapes, you could really manipulate them
Mm-hmm.
to where, because they're videotaping and it was doing 32, but you could stop them at a certain spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they quit making them that way. They went to digital and made it harder. So I'm trying to see if whatever that white image behind me is, which is over open ground, was caught by the video camera, and it was. And it's a perfect image of me. That's what the image is. It's my shadow, or a perfect it's not a shadow because it doesn't have height to it. It's the same height, but it's a perfect image of me, of another me,
Right.
in complete white, at the same height as my head as I'm sitting on the porch, but
Mm-hmm.
it is sitting out over the middle of the backyard.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, you get to a wall, you go shh, or longer, in front of the light. Well, the light went off, caught this image, and you see me, and in one and but here's the thing. This image, I finally found a digital recorder let me do that.
Mhm.
I used to do. So I was able to stop it and bring it up one frame at a time
Mhm.
on 32 frames. And there it is on one of the frames between the seconds. It won't show up at like at number 6. It won't show up at 7. It will show up like 6.5,
Mhm.
6 3/4 or something. It's showing up on one. It shows up on one frame within a 1 second
Wow.
space and everything. And I was showing it to everybody this night, and I said, "How could that happen?" Because there's trees in the background, there's open ground, there's me. You can see the deck, and you can see me in one frame
Mhm.
perfectly, like a photo went out. The other one, I'm completely white on the deck as well as my image. But my image or my shadow is not a, is not against something solid. It's against. It's sitting out in the middle of the friggin'. It's hanging over. It's got
Mhm.
it's got 3D depth to it. It's hanging over the backyard. And from that far away, that shadow should have gone smaller and lower, but it's the same height. You can look at it and go, that's the same height. It's the same. It's like taking a picture of me. It's like me coming up and taking a picture of you
Right.
in your studio in an open space, and your shadow is between you and the wall. It's not on the wall, it's in open air, and it can't be that way.
Right.
Well, at least in our technology, it can't be that
Right.
way.
Right. 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 Right.
Everything. So, and it's getting to a point now that I'm going to start. I've been holding a lot of stuff back in,
Mhm.
and I'm writing a new book. And I'm going. This new book I'm writing is a no hose barred book,
Mhm.
barn burner. And one thing I'm putting in there, it says, I don't. Okay, skeptics. You know how you see something, you tell your story, and a skeptic or a debunker says, "Well, that can't happen." and,
Right.
and you're going, okay, were you there? Well, no, I wasn't there, but it can't happen. Science and physics won't allow it to happen. Well, back when I was a kid, the Earth was only three. That the smallest particle was an atom, and now it's quarks and everything else. And our knowledge has grown, and we're really a stupid species compared to ET. Now they aren't gods or anything in my book. They're just been around a heck of a lot longer
Right.
and everything. But in the book, and in the foreword, and probably in the first chapter too, I'm putting on there, okay, it was Carl Sagan who came up and said, extraordinary claims, you need extraordinary proof. Well,
Mhm.
the problem is, and I know you've heard this before, is that you have the proof, and those who can have the letters behind their name, the scientists, most of them won't look at it, right?
Right. Right.
They
Absolutely.
won't. You have the proof. I don't want to see it. They're under peer pressure not to. It's like, this is the final word. It can't be any way else. And then when someone finds something that's different,
Mhm.
then it's like they won't look at it because they don't want to be. Nurses and doctors are this way sometimes too. The nurses are always with the patients, and the doctors comes around, does the surgery, and not putting down doctors or anything. But then the nurse is with the patient, and the patient comes and says, "Man, I've been hurting here. Oh man." So the nurse tells the doctor, and the doctor, "Well, I can't see anything, find anything, blah blah blah." Then what's causing the pain? Well, it's just psychosomatic or whatever. Can't find it. Next thing you know, maybe the person's they couldn't find it because nobody's perfect and everything. But I'm in this book. It's going to have some stuff in there that even I have a hard time accepting, but I know that it's real, and because I've experienced it,
Right.
and So I'm telling it says, no longer will I be trying to prove to the skeptics and debunkers that my experiences are real.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm turning it around. Now you suckers have got to prove to me that they aren't real.
Right. Let me ask
So
you this: did you have paranormal experiences before you were abducted,
I don't know. I
okay?
don't know. I know about that. My first experience over at my grandparents' house about the thing about being abducted the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and but on that experience I had, I was taken into this room with other kids, and I just instinctively knew what I needed to do. So if I instinctively knew what I needed to do, this I was either psychic, reading
Right.
somebody's thoughts, saying, okay, you need to do this, or I had done it before.
Okay.
So I don't know. Now, a lot of these investigations that we do,
Right.
all of I've done, I always ask, have you had any other different types of experiences?
Mm-hmm.
And these could be or different feelings or something, not just psychic, not just alien, not just abductions, not UFOs, not this, not just I'm not focus trying to
Mm-hmm.
focus it down on one thing, but you know, can't like maybe throwing in like healing stuff like Reiki or something like that. And about 50% of those that we asked
Mm-hmm.
and that I asked, it was, well, yeah, uh, every once in a while I see something in my house, and it doesn't look like one of the ghosts I see. It's kind of strange. It's tall and it's skinny, so you kind of have to you ask questions. So when I go into an investigation, and we always ask, get as little information as possible,
Right.
and then we sit there and talk to them for a while and see if what they told us beforehand
Mm-hmm.
was the same as what they're telling us now.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone tells me that, and they just want to talk to me and they want to tell me that, we came home from church after church on Sunday, and we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden books started flying off the shelf and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm there, I'll ask them the same question, and
Mm-hmm.
if they're BSing, or if they come up and say something like, yeah, we'd been out with friends, and drink, and to dinner and had a couple of drinks, and we came home and blah blah blah. That's a big difference between after church on Sunday. And then I would, if they tell me something new, I'd ask them the question again, but in a different way. And I take into consideration that nobody has a perfect, um, very few people have perfect recall memory.
Right.
And so if they tell me, well, this happened about 10 o'clock, on the phone with them, setting it up, and then this happened, and then get over there and they say, well, it's between 10 and 10:30 or 10:15, 10:30. Let's right in that 10 o'clock range.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it gets so outlandish
Mm-hmm.
and it totally goes against what they're actually telling me, then I don't spend much time with them because I don't have time to listen to BS
Right.
and everything. My daughter's a trip. Uh, she's 32 and no 33, and she's a paramedic with the National Fire Department. And when I started getting into this stuff, she was embarrassed. And I was in Life magazine in 2000, and she was in grade school or just beginning high school.
Mm-hmm.
She loved to see my picture in Life magazine. It was their last issue that they actually published before they went digital and everything. And so she wanted to show it to her friends, but she tore off the cover of Life to say it. Look, my dad's in this magazine. What magazine? I don't know, but she had torn off the Life cover of the magazine. But then her friends, and she was embarrassed about this. and she went to the same high school as I did, and apparently they got this bookcase, this glass case, and it's got a picture of all the graduating classes, and my daughter says, "Dad, you look like a gray alien in your graduation photo." What happened? She had showed her friends,
Right.
and her friends went, "Oh wow!" And so got to be junior high school, and I mean not junior high school, but junior in high school, and the
Mhm.
teacher had given them a project, a video project, and two of her friends teamed up to do a video thing of me and what I do. So it was so cute. Uh, and they could drive. They were 16, and they drove to my house and they set up a video camera and they had a list of questions to ask me. So I'm sitting there answering the questions. And they got some light shining on me, being very professional. And then I took them to my wife and I took them down to this place called Journeys Beyond, not Journeys Beyond, Magical Journeys. It was a bookstore at the time. It had been around for years. I took them down there and had them, and I paid for them to have some aura photos taken. I showed them all the different books and the crystals and stuff like that. And then I took them over to this friend of mine who was a Reiki master, and she was doing, and I talked to her and I says, "Hey, listen, let me bring the girls over here and stuff like that." And she was making these copper healing wands,
Mhm.
making yourself, and had a piece of copper and had crystals, and you can decorate it any way you wanted to. So I said, we'll go over there and make you a copper healing wand, and she's going to help you. So we drove over there. So it was her name was Charlene, and or her other name was Alexandria. um, she um, came up and she was happy to do this,
Mhm.
and so she helped them make their own, the two girls. My wife was there back there making her own, and she wasn't into this, but she kind of went along with it.
Mhm.
Charlene was back there. Now and they were doing this in this garage, this long elongated garage that she had set up for workbench and everything. And I was in front. And it had been going great. And this was about 11:30 at night. And luckily, they did this on a Friday, so they didn't have school next day. And so they're. I mean, these girls are pumped because they're liking all this stuff,
Right.
and especially the aura photos. And my friends were explaining how they worked, how the aura photos worked, and their energy and stuff like that. Kind of the whole 9 yards. So they're back here in this garage. Now, where she lived was this converted part of this converted garage
Mhm.
that this lady she was renting from turned into an apartment, a really nice apartment. So you go out the door and you go into the garage, and then the big den area kitchen combo was here, and that's where we had all the Reiki classes. Well, this lady and I were standing out there in the kitchen, and we're standing there and we're just talking. She was a good friend. I'd known her for years too,
Mhm.
and and we're just talking, and and her name, can't remember her name. I can't. I'm getting old. Can't remember names anymore. Um, Katara. We call her. She want to go by Katara. Phyllis and then Katara. The women in the group I hung with, they like to change their name to the new age name. So Katara went from
Sure.
Phyllis, her birth name, to Katara. So you have to remember two names, and I can barely remember one. And but we're standing there, and all of a sudden we heard this boom. I mean, it like a truck hit the wall. It's just a big boom. I mean, a huge boom. I mean, it almost ear shattering. And this was a big, this was a rectangular kitchen den area, and the bedrooms were back here down a hallway. Bedrooms, bathrooms back there, and they were outside the door. So the door going out to the garage was across from the kitchen.
Mhm.
So they're just on the other side of the wall, and of this. of what we thought somebody hit this wall. And there's a picture of this clown. I've never liked clowns to begin with. That Charlene had up on her wall, and it was about, like a 10 by 11 or a 10 by 14
Mm-hmm.
drawing artist thing of a clown. And and I didn't like clowns anyway, and especially this clown image and painting. And but we're standing here, we're standing like this, and in the kitchen, and we're down, and in front of us is the den, but we're both kind of standing in the angle where we're kind of talking but looking down into the den. Call it
Mm-hmm.
psychic, we're looking that way or something. But this picture that was hanging up on the wall, been hanging up on the wall for 10 years, all of a sudden just flew off the wall. That big boom, ear shattering, it flew off the wall, flew about 15 feet across the room, stopped literally in midair, flipped and turned slowly on his back, and just dropped slowly to the floor. And we're going, "Did you see that?" "Yeah, I saw that." And I see Marissa saying, "I hate clowns." I do too. But but I mean, it just flew off the wall, just as straight as can be, flat as can be, flipped on its back, and then just slowly, it just kind of went like that, and then just down to the floor, face up. And we're thinking, what in the hell did they do on the other side of this wall to get this painting to fly off? And this was not a small painting.
Right.
It was a pretty good size. It flying off the wall like that, and not even including why did it stop in midair and turn itself on its back and everything, and then slowly fall to the floor. And we thought they had done something. And man, I mean, this all happened within seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And we both went out there, and they're calmly doing their little things, doing their little copper healing wands. And we said, "What happened out here?" They said, "What do you mean?" Says, "Did you not hear that noise?" Says, "What noise?" It sounded like someone just, it sounded like a car, and there was no way a car could have gotten in this garage part of this room. It
Mm-hmm.
sounded like somebody took some out here, you all took something and just slammed it against the wall, and it threw a picture straight out 15 feet away from the other side. It's laying on the floor in there. It says, "We didn't hear anything." And if they had hit something, there would have been damage on the other side of the wall. That's how loud this noise was.
Wow.
And and we're sitting there going, maybe maybe mainly the people that were going there were adults, and
Right.
maybe it didn't like that younger energy. But I think the key to all of this, to me, I think there's one common denominator. I think I told you, we all abductees, contactees, everybody, you, me, it doesn't matter what kind of experiences we have or if we have any at all, we're
Mm-hmm.
all very unique individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We can experience similar things, but we react in different ways because of how we're brought up, what we believe, what we've experienced, strange or normal or whatever. And we all look at it the same way. Two guys meet a girl, one falls in love, the other one doesn't. Why? Because this one fell in love. I mean, it's just the way it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And uh so I think the abductions are specifically handmade for each person because we're all different. We're all unique in our own way. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people talk about diversity. Well, diversity is us as a human species, and the way we think and the way we act and the way we do everything. If we were all the same as a lot of people say we are or whatever, then we'd be more screwed up than what we are right now.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but I mean, and you're never going to get rid of hate. You're never going to get rid of anything because it's part of the human existence, is part of the emotions. You get rid of hate, you get rid of love, because you can't have love without hate. It's just like, how would you know how sweet the taste of sugar is if you've never tasted a lemon?
Right. Right.
There's nothing to compare it to. So you get rid of hate. And I think this is one problem with a lot of these ETs,
Right.
or whoever the heck they are. I think they're ETs myself. But, but they, you see one, like you see one gray, small gray, they all look the friggin' same. They all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they're cloned. It's like they're coming out, of a assembly line or something.
Right.
And there's one thing that you cannot continue without emotions and expect your society to continue on without destroying itself from within. And I think one reason why they're checking us out is because we're still young enough that we have these emotions. And
Right.
this is what scares me about a lot of this cloning going on right now. They're talking about cloning, is that we have no idea. You know, we all got something in us. Religious people call it a soul. I call it an essence, a spirit, whatever. We all have something. And if you didn't, you wouldn't have ghosts.
Right. Right. Right.
No, you would. The body dies and something goes on. And so you can't believe in ghosts. And I talked to these religious people one time. They said, "Well, there's only three dimensions. There's front and back and sideways and up and down." I'm going, "Well, there's a fourth. There's at least a fourth dimension." "Well, what? No, that's impossible." I says, "Do you think you have a soul?" "Yeah, I think I have a soul. I know I have a soul." Um, he was getting kind of smart with me. And I said, "Where's this soul?" He says, "It's inside me." I said, "Okay, can I see it?" "Well, of course you can't see it. It's invisible." I said, "What in the hell do you think invisible is?" "That's another dimension. If you can't see it, that's another dimension." People get stuck three-dimensional world. And we've got to kind of, here's something about this parallel earth that I've been to, is that every time I've been over there, they believe the stuff that people don't believe over here,
Right.
no, is real over there. I went into one guy that could turn himself invisible. I was even inside a female that turned herself invisible. And I mean, I've had these. I went into this one guy. At the first one happened, I went into this guy, and I could just sense he was a slob from the beginning, because I'm feeling everything he's feeling, but not in a physical way, but just in like an emotional way. And I just didn't like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And what he was doing, we were in his little crappy basically one bedroom apartment, had a single bed and all this stuff. And I went into him, and I'm going, "Why am I in this guy?" Well, I'm in him, and he does an obi. He knows how to do obis. So
Mm-hmm.
he does an obi out of his body, and I'm going with him in his obi. And he winds up, he goes into this bedroom, this really nice big bedroom that had these like bay windows and a chair and a lamp there for like a sitting area to read books and stuff.
Right.
And then these, really nice, like a fancy home. And here and across from this sitting area was a couple, and they had just got through making love. And he and the guy of the two was laying there and had the sheet up to his waist, and his wife or girlfriend, didn't know who it was naked and kind of laying halfway on top of him. And it was a very happy scene, for lovemaking, for a couple and everything. And this guy floated, but went from here sitting area over to where the couple was. And I'm wondering, what the heck is he going to do? because I can see everything. It's like I'm him, but I'm not him.
Right.
And he comes up, and the woman's laying there, and she's turned at an angle, leaning, laying partway on her husband, boyfriend, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So she's naked on the back. So he goes down, and this is when I learned I could do this. That's the only thing I learned from this guy. That his OB hand,
Mm-hmm.
he put his hand, and I could see his hand. I was in a room, I was in this house OBing, and there was other people in there OBing too. And even though we could see each other somehow, even though we were in an OB state and it was consciousness.
Right.
So this guy comes up and puts his hands on this woman's butt, and she had a nice looking butt. Like, well, lie, and then rubbed it, and the woman comes up and goes, ah, ooh, that felt good. And to her husband or boyfriend, and he says, what felt good? He says, you rubbing my butt. And he says, I didn't rub it. And she, all of a sudden, she just turns around like this,
Wow.
and this guy goes all of a sudden instantly back to the sitting area and back to his bed, back to his little crappy apartment. And here's payback for this. Oh, I love this. Only time I ever loved an abduction, this was it. Was that he messed around in his apartment for about 10, 15 minutes, and then he laid down and he went to sleep on this single bed. Oh, he had a dresser there. He had the door open into this one room den. It was sparsely furnished and everything. And I'm still in him, and I'm going, why haven't I left yet? And even though he's asleep, I can still see
Right.
and everything. And then all of a sudden, I pick up something, and I look over at the door that's open from the den, and it's dark, but it's like this ethereal type of light is still showing.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes two grays straight through that door, and they come right over to him. I'm going, this guy's an abductee. And they come over to him, and he opens his eyes, but he does that abductee stuff, like
Right.
scared. I mean, scared to death. He's trying to scream, but he's doing that silent scream, and he just and they're taking him off the bed and floating him up, and he is screaming, and I could feel this emotional trauma going on in his head. And I thought to myself, now that scares the at first that scared the heck out of me, but the emotional impact that it was on me
Mm-hmm.
was like 10 times greater on him. And I think because he was not a nice guy. He did something. When you Obi, you don't go into somebody's room and see them doing private things. You ask for permission
Right.
and everything. And I've done that with a good friend of mine, Janice Edwards, down there. I said, hey, you mind if I come see you tonight? Obi, go down there, and there she is laying next to her husband on the bed. And I came up and I did this to her with my hand and just caressed her cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like my best friend out of this, besides my wife. And 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 she calls me the next day, says, did you come and caress my cheek last night? And I went, yeah, I did. And she said, oh, that was so cool. She knew I was going to do it, so you asked permission. This guy, to me, this was like payback emotionally to him and whatever they were going to do to him physically than what he did to the woman, which was totally, that was beyond out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could have, I would have kicked his butt out myself. But I couldn't. Now I was in another one, and this one was weird. I was back, and I said similar but with differences. And I went into this. I went into this guy that was working on his back deck, and he had this little cutting tool that was similar to cutting tools we have to trim down branches off of trees, and it was electric,
Mm-hmm.
but it was operating off some kind of better batteries than what the crap we have on battery operated stuff. And And so while I'm there, and he's standing up and he's working, putting a cutting tool on there. And while he's in there, I'm looking around and I'm going, wait a minute now, this looks familiar. It was my backyard. We're in my backyard of the house I had built after my divorce
Mm-hmm.
from my ex-wife, not the one I'm with now, from my ex-wife. And I'm thinking, and it's daytime, it's afternoon time, and it's a Saturday. And I know all this because I'm feeling him and knowing what he's thinking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I'm doing this, there's no response from me that if he thought something bad, I was not thinking something bad of him.
Right.
Because it's I'm just in him. And I'm going, this is my house. And so while he turns around, and when he turns around, I can see the back of the house, and it's exactly like my house. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is my house. I says someone built a almost duplicate house of mine that I had
Mm-hmm.
years ago, you know, years ago, and I'm thinking, oh, this is weird. And and but the deck was different. The deck was different, and mine had a partition, and I had a hot tub in the middle of it,
Mm-hmm.
sunk in the deck, and because there was woods behind that house too. I like my stargazing darkness privacy. And I'm thinking, where heck, I'm this guy's living, and I sold that house. So I don't know if it's the guy, people who bought the house, or if it's sold after I sold it and somebody else bought it. But here I am at this house afternoon. I don't know. I don't know if I'm backwards in time or forwards in time. But I'm in this guy. And so, but the stairs coming up from the ground is raised up. This was one where the picture was taken. Okay.
Okay.
And it shows my image or my shadow straight behind an open space, same spot, same place. And there's these stairs coming up. My stairs came up from a sidewalk, from a back sidewalk, up to a landing, and then hung a right and came up to the deck. And my deck was shaped like the letter P turned backwards on its side.
Hmm.
And so he's up there and starts trimming down some branches that are overhanging. There was a gap between the deck and where the stairs came up, and there's a tree just like at my house, and here and or when I had it,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up, and these branches were kind of leaning over the deck railing.
Mm-hmm.
So his wife had been nagging him for a couple of weeks to try to trim down those branches
Mm-hmm.
thing of this tree. And so he decided to do it on this Saturday. So and all of a sudden, I hear and he hears a female voice. He turns around, and when he turns around, I turn around. Now I can see 360 without him turning around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going along with what he's doing since I'm inside of him, and not knowing if it was going to cause any difference to him if I did turn, but I don't think it would.
Right.
And he turns, and there's his wife and a door got the door open going into their den area, and his wife is standing there, and she is in this type of see-through negligee, and she is griping like hell at her husband
Hmm.
because she was tired. She had told her husband that she was going to take a nap, didn't want to be disturbed, tired, blah blah blah. So she's standing here, he's here, and he's turned, and she's just griping. Nice looking woman, like late 20s, early 30s max, griping at him, and he's like, she wanted me, and then it was like he thought something. He says something like, she's been bugging me for 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks to cut these damn branches off, and now she's coming out and bitching at me because I'm doing this. But the noise that this thing was making was apparently enough that woke her up, and she couldn't go. She couldn't go to sleep. So this goes on for like several minutes in that time frame, and then the next thing I know, bam! I'm immediately back on the couch, waking up on the couch, and I'm going. And my first thought was, boy, she was pissed. That's what I thought. She was pissed. And then that was my first thought. And when I come back, if I come back real fast, I get slammed in and my body starts to vibrate a bit. Other times I can come in real slow. This time and my body was vibrating a little bit and I was wide awake. And and I'm wide awake. And then I think it was just a matter of a few seconds after I was awake. And I'm on my left side instead of my right side. I'm on my left side because I'm turned on the couch when I'm having these experiences. So it's just for a nap. And so with my back to the back, but I'm on my left side on this one because I flipped the ends on the couch. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing a female voice, and she is not a happy female. And I'm going, this is coming from behind me. And I turn and I raise up and turned. Well, the back of my house where she's standing, or what my house used to look like, and what their house looks like now, is now exactly where two French doors are in my office that overlooks the pool deck and the pool. So that whole area, the whole corner right there that I'm pointing to right here, is no longer two French doors with mullions and glass and a curtain right up at the top and two curtains and a bookcase standing right there. It is now the back of this house in from their dimension, parallel earth, which has to be another dimension, this dimension where I am right now. And I turn and she is still pissed. And I don't know how long it had been, but then as soon as it disappeared, I looked at the clock and I've been laying there for 25 minutes.
Wow.
Well, let me put it this way. I was scaring her for 2 or 3 minutes because I scared. I'm just kind of, have you ever gotten to a point where you've seen something just so unusual that you don't react? It's like, let me get a camera. And it's like, you don't even think about a camera. It's like, oh man.
Yes.
And you're going, you aren't even thinking about getting cameras, recorders, anything. There's none in your hand, especially when you wake up, because I'm not going to go to sleep with an 8 mil video camera in my pocket, or
right,
or one of these little recorders, digital recorders that you catch EVPs on. I'm not having that. Give me some freedom. My hands are like this, and I'm asleep like this. I think I'm sleeping in the same way I did when I was inside my mom, curled up in a ball.
Yeah.
And, on my side. But I'm looking at this and I'm going, there's no way in hell. This is what I was thinking. There's no way in hell that this is a delusion. I'm not asleep. I'm awake. I'm seeing this. I just had the experience. But in how long I was over in the parallel earth, I have no idea. What day? I have no idea. What night? That could have possibly been me in another body, another physical body. I was just me, inside another physical body. There's another Sandy, because I think there's another Charlotte. There's Sandy. There's another, whoever's over here is over there. But this Sandy here, I'll be 71 in June. So, and this is like 2 years ago, and there's no way in hell this guy was even close to 71. I was in on my back porch. Like I said, he was like in his 30s. I figured, well, I'm gonna be going before him.
Mhm.
And I'm 40 years older than him and everything. And I'm going, there's no way. I was so, I just I got tired of questioning my experiences and saying, and questioning, are they real or not?
Mhm.
And it kind of brought me down at times. I just say, I have to use the F word and say up. And, because that's the only thing you can do,
Right.
you know? And I quit talking to people. Somebody comes up and they ask me about my experiences.
Mhm.
Start talking to them. I talk to them like I'm talking to you right now. Okay. No one ever has a problem trying to get words out of me and everything. But um, if I've had people, I did this for a while, for a long time, that somebody like my brother Dale, he had a problem with a blood bleed in his brain,
Mhm.
and was over at this hospital, and they had put them in this private guest room at the hospital, and and his wife, who's sweet as a Dickens, was over there, and part of his family was over there, and had these other friends. So I go in there, and this is a brother I really don't get along with real well. It's all right, but and but it's still my brother. So I went over there and seeing how he was and stuff like that, and and so I learned that, and I said hi to my nieces and nephews, and saw some people I knew that were other people,
Mhm.
and my sister-in-law Brenda said, Sandy, there's somebody, those people over there, that man and woman, you had never met them, but you've heard me talk about them, that so and so and so and so. They said they love this stuff that you do, and they want to talk to you about it. And I'm going, okay. So I give it about 15 minutes because they were talking to somebody else, and then I go over and talk to them. Start talking. Hey, I'm Sandy Nichols. I'm Brenda's brother-in-law,
Mhm.
Dale's brother. And they said, oh man, says you're the ones, and they start out, you're the one who does all this stuff. I'm going, yeah, I do this. And I said, people think I'm crazy, but I don't care. Well, they start asking me questions. Well, if somebody's asked me a question, I'm gonna give them an answer.
Mhm.
And I don't like. I'm a writer, and I write. And when I ask somebody a question and they give me what I think is like a one third of an answer,
Mhm.
then to me that's like me writing a book or writing something for somebody and only writing a half a chapter of a full chapter.
Mhm.
And I've written stuff for Brett. He's got 3 books out now, and he's interviewed me on one, and then he's talked about, and then another thing about similarities that we have, similarities but with differences. And then
Mhm.
his first book, I wrote one of his chapters for it. Wrote one of the chapters in there about what I thought the alien agenda was,
Mhm.
and so Brent wouldn't like it too much if I came up and only wrote. And I went, well, okay, and I wrote about ancient cultures and their gods, and how all these gods are the same. A lot of people don't understand that all these gods of these different cultures, from the Mayan, Aztecs, Olmecs, Incas, all the way over to Greece and Rome, they're all
Right.
the same gods with different names. Different names, like
Sure.
Hermes and Mercury are the same god, just Greek
Right.
and Roman difference. And I found out too that the big male god, like Zeus was head male god, okay, he was scared of his wife.
I would be too.
Yeah, and because in all of these gods, they were all scared of their wives. They all looked at their wives as more powerful. If you read the Stitchins books, you'll
Right.
find out that the ones who are the leading the Anunnakis are the females of the species, and the reason why the males are the males wrote the books.
Mm-hmm.
So they, it's just like in a war, the winner writes the stories, and their version of it. Well, the males wrote the version of the gods. So Zeus is the high, but Zeus's wife, they all have wives, girlfriends, whatever, multiple wives, and the head wife is always stronger than the male, the
Mm-hmm.
Zeus or whoever. And there's one reason for this, is because the females were the ones that held the knowledge. Without the knowledge, the male was pretty well screwed,
Right.
because it's just like you go a space shuttle go up in space. You had the commander, flight
Mm-hmm.
commander, the assistant commander, and then you have the scientist. But then you have a lead scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Lead scientist is telling the other three scientists what they need to do, and blah blah blah, make sure they do it, just like a boss at work and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you have a male who's the lead female, it doesn't matter, if you got 10 males, they got to listen to her. This is because they have the knowledge, and they had the keys to the knowledge. And if you know the knowledge, then you have the thing. It's just like on the UFO abduction issues. Someone knows these answers.
Right.
Someone knows these answers, and they have the knowledge. And here we are busting our butts trying to find that knowledge on our own. But they already know it, and they know it, and they control the money to fund what they do and stuff like that. So,
Absolutely.
so,
Sandy.
and just one more thing, and all this stuff that we're doing, I hate the word new age,
Right.
because to me, new age is what we're doing. We're learning old age. So
Mm-hmm.
we aren't creating a new age. We're creating a new age just for our generation or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. But what we're learning is old age, because these people knew about this crap long before. I mean, they say it in the Bible too. If you're a Christian, you believe the Bible, they tell you don't come up and do divination and contact the dead. Going, okay, well, what if they contact you?
Right. 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 That's
Anyway,
funny. You know what? It's always fun to have you on. We got to get you back on again sometime, okay?
okay, I don't even know what time. Oh shoot!
See?
Yeah, I've already been 2 hours
We did
having a.
good. Yeah, we did good. Yeah, we did good. But I would love to have you on again. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely! I love coming on your show. That's how
It's
come.
fun. It's fun. But I
If
want to thank you again for coming on, and we'll get you scheduled back in real soon here. Can you tell people where to find you?
okay, they can find me on Facebook to start with under Sandy Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they can go to. I got a bunch of photos up there. I'm into various aspects of the paranormal, whether and all these have affected me. They
Mm-hmm.
called my house the Paranormal Palace. It was Brett's wife Gina who came up with that name, um, because of all the weird stuff that happens here. So they can catch me on Facebook. Just send me a Facebook Messenger or friends request, whatever. Or they can contact me at my email address, which is wsmith51 at AOL.com. They can go on the internet and type in my name and see pictures. I usually don't have a lot of pictures of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Usually one taking the photos, and but they can find stories. My website got hacked, so I took it down,
Okay.
and I'm writing this new book, and I'm going to do a new website all around that. I've already got two domain names, like Chris Paranormal. No, let's see. That's something I can't even remember. But it's like Crystal Investigation, something like Paranormal Crystal Investigation, something like that.
Cool. You already have a book out too, right?
Oh, I took that book out of print.
Okay.
That book sucked. That
That
was
book
my
sucks.
first try years ago. I write poetry. I write poetry, and they can and poetry I'm not too bad at. I've won some
Mm-hmm.
awards on my poetry, but my first attempt at writing a book, For me and for some other people, uh,
Mhm.
it was all right because it told a story.
Mhm.
But as far as riveting and keeping you really in there for the story to see what's next,
Right.
that kind of sucked. It was more
Okay.
like like being in school reading a history book, and then the history is interesting only if you're interested in history.
There you go.
You know,
Gotcha.
I'm interested in the Magna Carta over in England. So, but if I'm not interested, oh man, that thing's boring as hell.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
All right, Sandy. Well,
anyway,
I'll
thank
I'll reach out to you. We'll get you back on. All right, buddy.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I always like to come on here with you.
All right, sir. You have a good evening.
Okay, you too.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right. He's always fun to have on as a guest. Um, yeah, Sandy, we were going to go uh, over our hour stuff, but why not? He's an interesting guy to talk to, but he takes you in directions you don't expect. Parallel universes works for me. Uh, so Sunday we will be back at our usual time doing our Sunday read, and I got permission today from the author of, drumroll please, the Mojave Incident. So that's what we're going to start reading on Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific. Monday is going to be a noon show. We have a special guest coming on Monday. Her name is Coriel Kramer, and she is an animal intuitive, and she's going to come on and talk about animal connections to humans. So that's going to be a really cool show. So that will be Monday at noon. For the people that are working, of course, there's the replay to look at, but we're going to go at noon on Monday. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know we were on for a while. Apologize for knocking my spotlight out earlier, the beginning of the show. Anything that can go wrong this week has. I'm glad the internet was stable for once. And you can find us at CaliforniaHauntsRadio.com. If you're interested in my paranormal team, you can find us at CaliforniaHauntsRadio.org. And if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you despise the show and loathe the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We just want to get the word out. If you've been watching from YouTube, please subscribe. Again, there's that little ghost guy down in the right-hand corner, and he has a Sherlock Holmes hat on and a magnifying glass. That's how you subscribe. Just click on him. If you have trouble finding our YouTube site, you Google California Haunts on YouTube. That's how you do it. California Haunts on YouTube. If you have trouble finding our site, go to the radio's website. Click on a video there. It'll take you in. 230 videos. But then again, on the radio site, we also have our archives. We also have ways for you to listen to us other ways, like on Apple and Google, when you're driving your car, that kind of thing, if you feel so inclined. Again, we don't make any money doing this, so I do need some help to keep the show on the air. If you could help me do that, that'd be great. PayPal.me at California Haunts. If you're uncomfortable with PayPal, Venmo, and then type in California Haunts. That would be great. I would really, greatly appreciate it if you could help me out a little bit. I love doing the show. I'm a journalist, photojournalist by trade. This is what I do. I love it. I love every second of it. But anyway, I will see you guys on Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, and we will be reading the Mojave Incident. So I will see you there. Have a good evening, guys and gals. And I appreciate everyone that came in tonight: Christina, Marisa, Jerry, Nancy, and all the others that came in tonight. I really appreciate it. Okay, see you then. Bye.